This is interesting for me because technically we're not in construction at all. Although if we might apply, I think, for some of the architects in the room. We started in 2005 when certainly the circular economy wasn't really a massively popular concept. I don't think it was a phrase that was used at all. But we have a similar relationship to, I guess, crisis and catastrophe and waste to a lot of the other speakers here today. I started going to British landfills when I arrived because that's the kind of tourist I am. I wasn't really interested in, I don't know, the Tower of London, so I went to the sewer and all the landfills. And one of the first materials that I discovered there was a fire hose. Fire hose shouldn't necessarily end up in landfill, but it does because you might get a catastrophic tear at meter 11, and there you go. It's no longer a fire hose. And it can't be recycled because it's a composite of nylon and rubber. And to me, it's beautiful. This is what I first saw when I went to Croydon, where all fire hose goes to die. And I thought, somebody has to save this material. Somebody has to take it home. I took it home and told my partner that we were going to be the people to rescue fire hose. He already had a job, so he found that quite confusing. We took about 5 years to make a product like this. And the reason we make luxury bags is not because I have any interest in fashion or luxury at all. It's because the material that Louis Vuitton uses for its monogram collection is very similar to the nitrile rubber that makes up fire hose. It was just the most practical application we could come up with. I actually wanted to make roof tiles, but there isn't enough fire hose waste globally annually to make roofing tiles. Also, if you leave it outside for 10 years, it will crack. And when it's no longer a fire hose, it's actually flammable. So we would have had some leaky, flammable roofs. So if you look at I suppose our DNA is threefold. We rescue materials, we transform them, and then we give 50% of the profits to charity. Because, yeah, I think greed sucks too. I think we could have a lot better relationship with each other if we decided to share. So we give 50% of the profits away. That turned into, I suppose, the most popular idea for us, because although it was a snap decision, it resulted in something really, really fascinating that we didn't know. There are 66,000 fire service personnel in this country. And from day one, they wanted to celebrate what we did. And that meant that we were in Vogue magazine, and actually we were talking about the launch of the iPhone. I remember it because we designed the first ever cases for iPhone in Europe. And actually the first problem that we decided to solve, the fire hose problem, by 2010, we had solved it. So it's between 3 and 12 tons a year in the UK. 3 tons in a good year when I'm just collecting the ones that get to the end of their health and safety life. 12 tons if we've had some pretty bad fires. Then we started to collect in 2010 a lot of other materials. We now take responsibility for 15 different materials. They don't always end up in luxury products. We're always trying to maximize the next potential future value. And a lot of the material that people started to send us in 2010 was leather waste. We started to research into it. It's a ridiculous problem. This is post-industrial offcut, and it's because the big upholstery companies, the big handbag makers, the car manufacturers, they don't like leather that has mosquito bites in it. They don't like leather that has stretch marks in it. They want it to be, even though it's a totally natural material, to be entirely uniform and plastic looking, which is pretty bizarre. So I came up with this design brief for Elvis, and it's not the way a traditional designer works. We start with the problem and we work our way back to the solution. We wanted to, we don't really care about the end product, we just care about the value that we're creating. And for us, certainly in 2010, a lot of people were talking about the circular economy, but nobody was designing for it. And that's why we really wanted to make something that was component-based. Elvis is a genius. He came up with these 3 shapes that you can make a leather rug with. So here for your interior architects, we've done a lot of hotel projects since we started with this material. But if you don't like it as flooring, it can be a tapestry. If you don't like it as a tapestry, you can take it apart and you can make a cube, which is a really, really brilliant doorstop and a way to use up all the little bits of leather, because we stuff those into the cubes and then we have a zero waste product. But if you don't like cubes, that's okay, because you can make upholstery from it, or you can make bags from it. So basically what we're trying to say is that because tanned leather really doesn't die, it doesn't biodegrade, why not turn it into something that can have several future iterations, can be repaired, can be redesigned? Because it's quite egotistical to say that I'm going to design the best thing ever. I think the best thing that we can do is give this as an open access system so that people can design whatever they want from it. And it's all handmade, So I suppose, this is where we make it. We're based in Kent. The building inspired us because it was designed in 1837 to run entirely on renewable energy. So that's why 50% of the profits from our leather project go to renewable energy causes. And then I suppose, most businesses don't really talk about values, but values are the reason we do everything that we do. We're radically transparent. Anyone can visit our workshop, ask us any questions. We don't have any secrets or things like that. We always have multiple positive objectives. I'm not trying to design a luxury good. I'm trying to change the luxury industry. I'm trying to change people's perceptions of waste. We make business decisions on a very, very sort of binary-based question. Is this going to make the world better for other people's grandchildren or not? That takes selfishness out of the equation. That takes, making landmines out of the equation. So it's quite a helpful way to ensure you're being good. We're a founding UK B Corp, which is an interesting business movement. The most interesting thing about it is that you have to change your constitution to say that the environment and its people are equally as important as shareholders, which totally subverts the entire capitalist system that we currently have. And the only time I suppose I'm ever really interested in money is with this equation. Right now, if I bury a ton of leather in the ground, it costs £410. If we turn it into our system and we sell it, we generate £100,000 of revenue. And this isn't like a way of bragging. It's a way of proving the insanity in the luxury industry. We have a partnership with the Burberry Foundation. Burberry as a company produces 9 tons of leather waste a month. If we transform it into our system and resell it as Burberry goods, it's an additional £32 million of revenue. Either that or it's a waste problem. So we're just trying to prove the level of insanity, I suppose, that exists. And then, as I'm the last speaker, I get to leave you with a really awesome photo of Elvis. He's not just for Google, he's a real person. And there you go.